We haven't won a game yet. I'm pissed off. We losing. We suck. But obviously I don't want to be traded. I'm still grateful to put on my uniform.
I threw it to the place I thought he was going to be able to make the play.
I talked to AB. AB, you have to come flat. You can't drift in the end zone.
I got big shoulders. I can take it. Constructive criticism only for you to get better.
People are making a big deal about a walkthrough on Wednesday, that there was a blow-up, a fight between he and I. I don't know anything about that.
Sat out of practice all week, showed up Sunday expecting to play.
Antonio has been a guy who's been a me guy.
The bottom line is that we're playing a significant game, and he didn't do a good enough job of communicating or being available.
Brown officially requests a trade,
reinforcing that he wants out.
Brown used the term owner's mentality when describing Big Ben.
Someone who you see kind of snuggling up to the highest people in the organization, that can start to become a little bit of a problem.
Hey, your squad want a hungry wide receiver who the best in the whole world. Someone hit my phone.
The Steelers plan to have a deal in place by Friday. Antonio Brown is going to be traded. There's no doubt about that.
All right, so here's the deal. We believe that by this time tomorrow, or certainly by this time Saturday, Antonio Brown will no longer be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there has been so much psychoanalysis of this man going on the part of people who have never met him, that we thought it would be good to bring someone into our conversation who does know him, who has worked with him, and can shed some light onto that. And so we're delighted to bring in Todd Haley, who was the Steelers offensive coordinator for 6 seasons during exactly the period of time in which Antonio Brown became a superstar. So, Coach, I know you know Marcus Spears from your days together in Dallas, and we'll get into it here. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes. Can you tell us, as you have watched some of the behavior from Antonio Brown lately, how does that connect to the player that you coached during those 6 seasons?
Oh, I never saw any of that, obviously, during my time there, and I can only speak about the time I was there. And AB was a highly, highly competitive guy that, I think some of these things that are coming out are what also have given him a chance to be one of the greatest ever, maybe the greatest ever when it's all over. So, when you're that competitive and that driven and have gotten to places that nobody thought he would ever get to, I think when frustration does come out, it probably comes out more than it does in a lot of other people.
Todd H., what's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, brother. Listen, I know you and I know your coaching style. You deal with players like this well. Could you see AB's mentality, personality sticking with most coaches in the league, or would you have to be a special guy at that wide receiver and offensive coordinator position to deal with AB?
I think you need to have a strong guy in a position to coach him, but there's a lot of high-end wide receivers that have been around that you need that, and they need that, and they just need that constant push and to let them know that you're trying to get them to be as good as they possibly can be, and that's what great players really want. They want to be pushed, they want to be coached, and they want to know that the coach wants them to be the best they can possibly be. The great ones. That's what I've found in my time coaching. But he's a great kid and the hardest worker I've ever been around. I mean, there wasn't a day he wasn't ready to come out there and go full speed. We had to pull him back in walkthroughs and things like that. I mean, he is 100% all the time. So, it's a high charge guy you're dealing with, but a great one.
The relationship with the quarterback is also obviously very important for a wide receiver, and that relationship with Ben Roethlisberger clearly has fallen apart and seems to have contributed to some of the problems there. What did you observe in that relationship when you were coaching those two guys?
Yeah, again, I can only speak of when I was there, but, these two had the best chemistry that I've ever seen between a quarterback and a receiver. They're both very good field players and can adjust in the fraction of a second. Ben, I think the two of them together was a phenomenal combination, obviously, and all I saw was great respect. I mean, I've said this before, that if there was a miss, and misses were rare, in practice, a connection wasn't made between those two. I mean, AB, he'd come flying back, look up to Ben like he was looking up to his father, and he'd go, what'd I do? And it may have just been a bad throw by Ben at that time, but AB was so concerned with trying to be perfect. I thought the relationship was great, and I was always interested watching it because of you were seeing real greatness between two guys that just knew what the other one was going to do most all the time in a game that's hard to do that.
Todd, we're having these conversations revolving around AB being traded, obviously, really soon. What is AB worth to a franchise? Is it a first-round pick? Is it giving up some star players to get him? And does he immediately change the dynamic of your football team when we talk about getting to a Super Bowl?
I think that's a hard one. I think he has a chance to be one of the greatest ever, but that didn't just happen overnight. The time and effort spent, and again, I got to be there at the right time. Maybe it was really just a special teams player when I got there, so I kind of got to see it happen through those 6 years. But 6 years is a long time to develop that chemistry and get something like that going. And there was a lot of hard work put in on everybody's part to get to that point. And I think he's obviously worth a ton. But I just think, he needs to go to the right place to give him the best chance to succeed too. And I mean, there better be some strong leadership and a strong quarterback.
Todd, from your perspective, we know the football side. Who is AB as a person from your time spent with him?
I love AB. Again, I'll tell the story that when I first got to Pittsburgh, I'd just been, I've been with Larry Fitzgerald, Keyshawn Johnson, some of the best in the game, coaching them personally. And this guy walks up and he goes, I'm the greatest. I'm going to be the greatest. I'm looking at him, 5 times, like, you're not a big dog. But, I learned real quick, don't tell this guy he can't do something. I think it's what drives him to obviously have a chance to be one of the greatest ever. He surpassed a lot of those guys. And that first meeting, I'm like, this ain't a big dog because he didn't look the part. But, man, this guy is driven inside as much as anybody I've ever been around. And if you have that, you've got a chance to be great. And as a coach and guys you're dealing with, I mean, what he did for us in Pittsburgh, he and Ben together, I mean, what more can you ask? And, I think he's a great kid and love the guy. Talk to him, every couple of weeks now.
I did not know you were going to tell us that, so I was about to say goodbye. But when you say, what's the last thing, can you tell us about the last conversation you had with him? What is he telling you about his feelings about wanting to leave Pittsburgh? What conversation have you had with him in the last couple of weeks?
Mainly with him, it's just love you, man, love you, coach. I mean, I just check in on him, or he checks in on me. I won't get into personals, but he's just a great kid. Love being around him.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. We all appreciate it very much. Thank you. Best to you, and I hope that we'll catch up again sometime soon. That's Todd Haley, who, again, was for 6 years the offensive coordinator there with Antonio Brown, when Brown did go from a guy no one had ever heard of and certainly doesn't look the part to being one of the most productive players in the history of the league for a period of time. What did you make of that, and what do you think's about to happen with AB?
I am always fascinated by the price. Like, what is the price for a player that may be the best at his position, but in the NFL, it's not just, I should give you a first rounder. It's, what do I have to pay you once you get here? What's going to make you happy? What's going to prevent you from turning into the guy that became disgruntled at the end of the Pittsburgh run? So when you ask, what's that worth? In a vacuum, it's worth the first rounder, but not by the NFL standards. That's not how these trades work.
I thought it was fascinating the way he illustrated the relationship between Ben Roethlisberger and AB when Haley was there coaching him.
Why they traded him. It sounds great.
Exactly. It sounded like it was such a good relationship, which by all accounts we had heard that. But, Jalen, it's interesting when you think about how a relationship deteriorates. I'm just guessing here. I don't know AB. I don't know what happened, but it almost feels like he got his feelings hurt. Somewhere along the way, something personal happened to him.
And he talked about feeling like Ben threw him under the bus when he allegedly didn't run the correct route, but a lineman picked it off. So that play was not his fault. But the other thing that jumped out to me, hearing Todd Haley speak about AB, is he used the term kid a couple of times. So a lot of us over the last couple of weeks have been talking about the GM using that term as it related to Ben having 52 other kids. And I kind of took offense to it like many did. But now hearing him speak, it sounds kind of like the GM speak as well. That's kind of how they describe that situation, more so than trying to demean him, possibly.
Marcus, final word.
It got old. The relationship got old. And look, we can say that it's like AB even said, it's not a big deal that Ben threw me under the bus on that play, but it's a huge deal when you talk about the dynamics of a locker room. I try to explain this to people all the time. The dynamics of the locker room is one of the most easily fractured atmospheres on earth. When you talk about sports, when you talk about any type of business. So when things like that happen and the rift is happening and you're not playing well and AB is dealing with the front office and he's the only guy to stick up for Le'Veon Bell in that whole situation, a lot of things went awry with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was your two best players at odds with each other.
Again, we expect the trade to come, according to Adam Schefter, by tomorrow. We'll take a quick break. Speaking of bad locker rooms, LeBron James making history, passing Michael Jordan on the scoring list, but it came on a terrible night for the Lakers. Stephen A. Smith was there. He joins us live with his reaction next.